only thing they talk about in these movies. And nos.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
And welcome to the Macaw Podcast Universe.
A podcast that exists to prove people wrong when they say sequels are never better than the originals.
And we're doing our most requested series ever from people and even guests.
Yeah.
And once again, we're joined by Rachel Quirky Schenk to talk about a movie that you chose.
I did.
Out of all of them. You were the
Yes.
first email we sent, and this was what you chose.
I dibsed it. This one, for real. That's not a joke. You were like, which one do you want to do? I'm like, Tokyo Drift. Absolutely. Without question.
I remember last time you were on for, was it Batman? What was it? Which Batman movie?
Batman and Robin. Yes.
Batman and Robin.
I remember
A brilliant film.
Yeah.
We all
forget.
agreed upon
Yeah.
it.
We stan.
And I can't remember if this is on the episode or if this was post-recording, but you had mentioned that you had, I don't know if you had recently seen Fast and Furious, but you had been like converted, like it's so good and you love it. And I think even at that time we were like, really? Because that's like our most requested series. We've never seen it. We don't get it.
Yes.
And here you are to help us understand the series.
I'm so glad to join you at this point in your
Yes.
journey because, boy, oh boy, do you have one ahead of you? A journey. I mean, holy shit. I'm sorry. Holy socks. I forget. Can we curse here? I always
You
forget.
can curse. You can curse.
Oh, thank
yeah.
goodness, because it gets so fucking wild. from here, like, I was watching this movie and was just thinking about like where it is in the chronology of the franchise versus its chronology within release date. And then just because I was trying to refresh myself, just going from like Tokyo Drift happens and then everything gets insane. And it just does, it's like this cognitive dissonance between like, wow, this Tokyo Drift movie sure is real grounded in,
Wow.
in
Oh,
reality.
okay.
Boy, oh boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in case you don't know, listener, and you just decided to click and you didn't read the title, we're talking about The Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift.
Yes.
And so for me, this was the first and only movie I had seen in this franchise up to us covering it. And that was an interesting and weird experience.
How old were you?
I would have been in middle school.
Okay.
And I remember thinking that it was quite boring at the time.
For
Now,
a 7th grader?
granted, I'm remembering that we did watch it on a TV that was maybe a little bit bigger than an iPad at the time.
Okay.
You know how it was back in the day.
Yeah.
Not everybody, we didn't have 60-inch TVs and stuff. So watched it in my sister's bedroom with my sister, and I think we both didn't really like it. And I think it was both of ours only experience. And I felt a little validated.
Okay.
Because in my research, I came across a quote from the guy who directed the first movie,
Okay.
and he was critical of this movie, and he said, quote, "If you were to just watch Tokyo Drift, you'd say, I never want to see anything related to Fast and Furious again." And I guess I proved that correct.
I guess. Wow. That is pretty critical. He hated this movie.
And that is coming off the heels of Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah.
Which is
most
definitely worse than this movie.
forgettable movie
Yeah.
of the franchise, I would
Yeah.
say.
That at this point, people have listened to that episode.
Yes.
And that is probably our shortest episode. And we had so much to say, but when we were done recording, we were just like, I guess that's it. I have nothing else. I have no more energy to put into this movie.
So, yeah, that was my first experience. Last night was your first experience.
Last night was my first any movie in the series is my first experience.
Yeah. So can you take us through your little fast, hit us fast and hit us
Sure.
furious, Rachel?
I will do it Too Fast and Too Furious. I watched the first Fast and Furious movie when it aired to the masses. I believe on VHS or DVD, whichever was the popular medium at the time. My mother loves action movies, so that was just kind of like where we were. I hadn't touched the franchise since, but after becoming friends with Fast and Furious apostate himself, Patrick H. Willems, was slowly convinced to give these movies another go. You know, you can only watch someone be so excited about a movie series before you go, I need to figure out why this person looks absolutely giddy every time they mention this. But I remembered not really super loving the first Fast and Furious movie. So when I went to start my franchise watch, I did start with Tokyo Drift. Because I was like, I think this one's gonna be close enough to like the fever pitch zenith that we're going to get to through this franchise.
Yeah.
But is going to be disconnected enough from it that I think if I start with this one and go, okay, I can get in this for the cars, I could do the whole series. So I did. I really liked it as an entry point, even though what a buck wild decision for me to make.
Yeah.
Starting with the third movie that ends up becoming like chronologically the 8th movie.
Okay, so this
Interesting.
this doesn't make sense to me as
ready. Yeah. Boy, oh boy.
So they do try and weave this into the rich tapestry that is FF.
Yes. This, yeah, this does end up existing within the canon in ways you will never expect.
Yeah, I will
Holy
say,
shit, in ways you will never expect.
when I was looking up the actors, I noticed that several of them, of the main cast, had a credit in F9, I think, and I was just like, I don't understand how that's possible right now, unless they're just like doing a ton of flashbacks. I don't get it.
I think I've heard that they
you so badly, but I can't. This is torturous. I just can't. You're gonna have so much fun, or you're gonna be so angry. I don't know which way it's gonna go.
Yeah,
Can I say two?
I know some things about, because so much like what you said, except for having the personal connection, because I'm not personal friends with Patrick H. Willems, but a big fan, watched the YouTube videos, and I watched his Why the Fast and Furious is Great video a long time ago, and I'd still only seen Tokyo Drift, and that was a point for me where I was like, oh, so maybe these are good, because I trust his opinion. And even if I don't agree with him all the time, I'm like, okay, I get what he's saying or what this video is about or whatever. So that was sort of a turning point for me in how I viewed them, because I always viewed them as those are like those trashy movies and I'm too good for them.
Yeah. So.
But.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
And then listening to Blank Check, I know that the Blank Check guys love Fast and Furious as well. So I was like, there's got to be something.
Yeah.
Because those are three really smart film watchers. Patrick and those two guys, there's got to be something. And then when you were on our episode, it was kind of like, okay, there's got to be something.
Yeah.
And
Please be something.
I'm still waiting for there to be something.
It's hammered down. For sure.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Jordan. You were going to say something.
Okay, the car stuff was cool. The story was probably the best story so far. I didn't like the movie very much, but as we're getting into we're in the big race scene at the end, and Micah, you and I were just saying like, man, it just sucks that Vin Diesel wasn't in the last one, and like, I can't believe I'm saying I want Vin Diesel in a movie. Like, that's just crazy. And then you get to the end of this movie, and they're like, someone here wants to race you. The new DK wants, or
and
whatever.
I was so upset at how excited I got.
So excited, and I'm like, this is so annoying.
Yeah,
and I'm like, is this what the series is the whole time? Like, I'm just not really enjoying it, and then they bring back a character, and I'm just so excited. I don't know.
I mean, it's partially that.
Yeah.
For sure. It's definitely, this is the movie where you realize that the Fast and the Furious franchise, it is Vin Diesel. Like,
sure. Yeah.
The way his appearance right there at the very end makes you feel. And like, luckily, the people making this realize that. So like, the next one is going to be a real nice, like, soft reboot, and we're gonna get all the people back in place that you liked from the first
okay.
one. Because like they're still kind of trying to figure out what this is. You know, they just did
Yeah.
one standalone with Paul Walker. Then they're like, okay, something about that's not working. So they're like, what if we, you know, go more anthology with it? You know, like this is
Right.
a universe of Cars. And then once they key into what really is great about this, which is that sort of found family
Mm-hmm.
theme, you know, like, which I think they start keying into on this one with like Han and
Yeah.
Sean's relationship,
Yeah.
you know, the garage and
Yeah.
that sort of idea of like outsiders no longer being outsiders because they have each other, you
Mhm.
know? And then it's just like, what if they just are really, really good at cars? And that's it, you know, like from here, it's just like they're a family, they're good at cars. Let's just go and see what happens. I love this movie though, because it's such an anime in the dumbest
Yeah.
way where it's
Yeah.
I love it. I cannot help but just be like, I love how stupid this movie is. How little it cares about its plot just to get us to the cars.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So
Amazing.
would you say that it's normal for us to feel the way we feel? As in, the first movie we felt like is a not so great Point Break, but it's
Yeah.
fun, but kind of a bad movie.
Mhm.
The second movie is really bad, but
Doesn't make
Tyrese
a
rules.
lick of sense.
Yeah.
And then this movie, we're like, are we gonna like any of these? Is that are we on a normal path so far?
Yeah. Again, it's why I started with Tokyo Drift
Okay.
because I knew the first two. I was like, I know I need to watch them because they're gonna put characters in my mind that I need to remember for the rest of this. But I knew Tokyo Drift was just fun, dumb with cars, and I'm just like, I
Okay.
want to know that that's the promise of
Yeah.
what we're getting. And this one is the first kind of like understanding the fundamentals and showing them in enough. Like this one feels like the proof of concept where it's just like, fuck it, cars, let's go.
Yeah,
They're fast. It's fun to watch them
Mhm.
and watch people race them. And then just like up the stakes with just like cars go fast. Now cars go fast with like X situation or Y situation.
Yeah,
and I can't
okay.
go on because
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin this for you. But just like this one feels like they get what the core of this is, and then they're just
Yeah.
gonna take what works and run. You
Got
know.
it.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah,
And drive,
So
really.
you should yeah, take it and drive. Crank up the nos. Get on out of here. Drift to your heart's content. Yeah, so no, you are in a pretty like relatable place with the franchise
Okay.
because it just
That's cool.
hasn't figured itself out yet, and it's starting
Yeah.
to.
'Cause
Yeah.
this movie to me feels the way that Mission Impossible 2 feels to Mission Impossible, potentially. Where it's like that movie, Mission Impossible 2, is doing all these bad decisions about how to treat the character of Ethan Hunt. And then after that, they've learned what not to do. And so then like the rest of the movies rule.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that that's what this is, where it's like, okay, we worked out all the kinks. We did nail the cars because I think this one, the races look the best so far.
Yeah.
And the drifting, I mean, it's hard to not think it's cool.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
So it feels like they figured that out, but maybe they haven't, like you're saying, they're not quite there with the characters and family aspect. Because everyone says that this is all about family, and I'm like, haven't felt that yet. But it sounds like everything
Felt
is
that in the
coming.
first movie, very much so.
Yeah, the first movie only.
I just want another barbecue.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
want.
Apparently, we're
it's-
gonna get a lot of
Don't
those.
worry. There's gonna be Corona. There's gonna be
Yes,
barbecues.
that's right. Corona. Yeah.
You can have
You
any
can
beer.
have a beer.
You can have any
Yeah,
beer
go
you
ahead.
like, as long as it's Corona.
Yeah.
We need to get
Man.
some for the rest of the movies. I
we
think.
do.
You
yeah.
truly do. Now is the
That-
time to Corona up.
Yeah. And talk about cheap. I mean, that's a cheap beer to get. So that I
Sure.
mean, that's not gonna break the bank.
Yeah, just grab a couple of limes. You're done. Night on the town.
So let's talk about the people behind this.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Because another big part of this that I was seeing is, funny enough, so this movie, my kind of reading and take on this is like the plot and the idea of a direct-to-DVD sequel to a series that shouldn't be as good as it is. And weirdly enough, like, this crew kind of goes on to make the rest of the movies.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is just odd because in typical fashion, you know, like if you look at other series, a lot of times it's like, okay, we got back Rob Cohen or something to do 4. But this is like Justin Lin takes the series.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Justin Lin becomes sort of like the guy. Like when Justin comes back for whichever subsequent movies, because I don't think he does 5. I think
he does 4, 5, 6, and 9.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so like I remember the hype of 9 and him coming back, and I think
Yeah, because he does 4, 5, 6. James Wan does 7.
7. Yeah,
And then there's I think F. Gary Gray does 8, and then Hobbs and Shaw's David Leitch, the other John Wick director,
Oh, okay.
and then Justin Lin comes back for 9,
for 9. Yeah.
Okay.
and part 10, part 1, and part 2 that are coming.
Oh, okay.
I'm so I'm so glad to be here with you at this portion because oh my god.
I just feel like we're putting in the hardest work to be put in right now in the series, which I guess it's like, glad that it's the beginning and not like going through Hannibal and by the end of it we were pulling our hair out.
Yeah, where it starts so good.
And it just gets
and
so
then it gets
bad
worse
so
and
fast.
worse.
Yeah,
this one's the opposite of the impression I get.
Definitely a grower, not a shower.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Justin Lin does those movies. He also did Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah.
And then he did another movie I'm going to mention later in the notes before this movie. And it's written by Chris Morgan, who wrote Wanted. He writes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the Hobbs and Shaw movie.
Wow.
The cinematography is by Stephen F. Winden, who did 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And also, Kevin Costner's The Postman, just as another side note.
Okay.
And then Brian Tyler did the music in this, and we just talked about him because on our episode of Scream, he did the new music in Scream.
Cool.
And actually, this was the first time in the series that I felt like the music was keying into something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like Brian Tyler was getting it.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's a different composer, I was like, oh, cool. I really was feeling that.
Yeah.
It did get to a point where, toward the end, where I'm just like, okay, let's I've heard the electronic drums only so much. Let's do something else here. But I think he's doing something.
Yeah.
And it feels very, very cool.
Yeah.
I agree.
The other thing, speaking of music, so my sister and I, watched this movie together, and there's a song in this movie. I believe the song's called Tokyo Drift, and it's the one where it's like,
where every time they're in like the garage, where
Yeah.
it's like,
Yes.
and they say the name of the movie.
Yeah, they say
within
Fast
it.
and Furious.
Yeah,
you
that
know.
one.
My sister and I definitely bought that on iTunes,
Hell
and we
yeah.
listened to it all the time. So we were like, don't like the movie, but love this song. And I think it holds up. It's a pretty cool song. I'm into
That
it.
bop comes on when they're first getting to the underground racing that Sean finds in a day.
I know.
Yeah.
Less
And I'm
than
just like,
24 hours.
I'm ready. I was already ready, but I'm glad that this movie is also ready. This movie's so over its own premise. It's like, we just want to get to the cars. It's fine. We
Yeah.
get it.
Oh,
We get it.
I mean, we all know that he was going to find cars, even though his dad's like, "You find a car, you're going back home to jail," and he's like, "Okay,
No.
I'm gonna go find a
I love
car."
how the law works in this regard, where it's like,
Yeah.
go to juvie or go to Japan.
I
That's
know.
your choice. We'll drop
Well,
all
and-
the charges if you just leave the country.
Yeah, you're that dangerous because you drive around. Another cool thing that the composer did that I'm just putting together now is at the beginning of the movie when they're in America, it's like this heavy rock music.
Uh-huh.
And then not only does the soundtrack change, but also the music becomes more like techno-y and more clubby sounding.
Yeah.
Especially when he gets in the cars. And that really works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so
So-
too.
Music gets a hard pass from me.
Great.
Or no, That means bad. It passes.
It passes. A plus.
Hard.
Yeah.
Yep.
The movie comes out June 16th of 2006.
It does. It does.
Yes.
Don't worry. This movie came out in 2006.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you further about its time dilation in regards to this franchise. So,
Well, I can tell you something kind of funny and ironic. This movie opened number 3, which is not where you want your blockbuster to open.
Yeah.
But it was behind 2 other movies.
Okay.
Number 2 in the box office that weekend was Nacho Libre.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
I get it, because Jack Black, like,
Yeah.
Also, I love that movie.
yeah.
And then the number 1 movie, here's where the irony comes in. It's a movie by Pixar called Cars. Was number 1 at the box office.
Oh, that's delicious. The animated car movie beats out the car anime movie.
Yeah.
You love to
Wow.
see it.
That's got to be in the liner notes for this episode. I got to remember to write that down. That was good.
Thank you.
But so this movie has a $85 million budget, and domestically it's a bomb. Makes $62 million in the
wow.
U.S. Worldwide it makes $157, so it does a little bit better. And this one is kind of viewed, from what I could tell, as like once this movie comes out, they're like, we don't know what to do with this. There might not be more. That was kind of a failure. Remember, number 2 was also a lot lower than the first movie.
I can't believe they made more movies.
It is kind of insane.
Yeah.
Especially, and like I said in the last episode, we're not like crazy full on franchise world yet.
Right.
And they still made more movies. That's crazy.
I mean, this is 2006. Iron Man hasn't come out yet.
Yeah.
So this is not like, we're not obsessed with franchises to the degree we are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is definitely a very like transitory franchise where you can watch like our pop culture change over time just through the lens of this film series, because like this was being Point Break, you know, you're very like late 90s, early 2000s, like cop espionage, action-y kind of deal. And then you get past this and it's just like heists and shit and continuing to just like level up these characters to like insane OP status. So
Well, and you did say a magic word that makes my eyes light up, and that's the word heist. So
oh yeah, there's a heist or two to deal with.
I do know that there's a giant safe in these, but I don't want to say anything in case Jordan hasn't heard about the giant safe.
I've heard of 0 things.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think I saw a trailer where they're like in Antarctica at one point, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I remember laughing in the theaters every time that trailer played.
And I remember you saying at one point, this is years ago, where like a new movie's coming out, and you're like, when are they going to space? Because that's the next thing that they can do.
I think when I saw the Antarctica thing, I said, they got to go to space. And on an old podcast that I had with a friend, I pitched Fast and Furious 10 before I'd seen any of these movies, except for Tokyo Drift.
Wow.
And from what I hear, I think I haven't been far off.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe everyone thought that. But
you know, it has been a theory that has been bandied about that space. You're not the only people to think space.
yeah.
The final frontier for this franchise.
Yeah. Until they get in the multiverse and they show up with all the Spider-Men and stuff like that.
Oh, well, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and then like Boba Fett crawls out of the Sarlacc pit,
Yeah.
and hops in an American muscle car,
Yeah.
goes
You know
to meet
what?
with his buddy Vin,
Okay.
hanging out.
So do either of you know about the Japanese titles for these movies?
No.
I think I looked it up, but I have forgotten.
They're very funny. And I'm only going to go through the first 3, but I think they continue this weird trend of not naming them Fast and Furious. But the first movie is called Wild Speed.
Okay.
Second movie is Wild Speed 2.
Cool.
Okay.
And this is Wild Speed 3.
Wow.
But I think it
Very
starts
simple.
getting weirder as we go. And we'll be tracking that on this
I
here
like
podcast.
Wild Speed.
Wild Speed's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Chris Morgan, the writer, originally pitched Vin Diesel in Tokyo learning to drift and solving a murder.
Hey,
Ooh.
solving a murder.
I guess so.
Wow.
Which, hey, I love a good detective story, so that might have worked for me.
All of this is incredibly difficult. I didn't realize how hard having this conversation with you at the beginning of this franchise is going to be, because you keep dropping buck wild things that could happen in the franchise, and it's just like
they do happen.
you don't even
probably
know.
Right.
Like you don't. You
So our
can't.
listeners are probably just laughing at us right now.
I hope they're laughing with, or like me, laughing through sheer just like, oh my
They have no
precious
idea.
summer children.
We know nothing.
It's kind of wild too that like just through osmosis we haven't like somehow consumed all of these movies and know what they're all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I watched Patrick Willem's video and he explains like the whole series, and I think I just kind of forgot all the stuff because it's like I don't really have an attachment. I'm just eating lunch and like watching his video, so I'm just gonna throw
Maybe
this on.
you were focusing more. I'm assuming he was talking more about like story points, character development, like why those things are important to the series, and maybe you grabbed onto that more.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, yeah.
Also,
I have to watch it again.
It's also very different between being told how a fight goes
Yes.
and watching the fight. Not to
Yes.
bring up pro wrestling, but like someone could tell you how a title match went on Wednesday Night Dynamite, but like you watching one person power slam another person like 5 times in a row, you're gonna remember that a lot more than someone just saying, and then he got choke slammed 6 times, because you're just like,
That's true.
There's so much like viscerally to latch onto in this franchise, because this franchise from here on out does not know how to go, is this too much?
Yeah.
They don't ask that anymore. They go,
That is my expectation.
you know what? It's fine. It's not.
And I like
it's
that.
Not too much. Don't worry. It's not
Okay.
too
So-
much.
Good. And I mean, this is the 3 of us are people that argued that Batman and Robin is a great movie even. So I'm hoping that means that the rest of these we're just like, yes, bombastic, let's go.
Yeah,
You and I are lovers of bombastic.
definitely.
Oh boy,
Okay.
then I'm glad. I'm glad you're watching this franchise then.
So the producer of this movie, Neil Moritz, I was kind of confused because like, who is Justin Lin before this? Like, why did they choose him? He has this quote: "After I'd seen his movie Better Luck Tomorrow, which was obviously not a huge movie. I knew Justin was a director I wanted to do business with. He was the first we approached, and he loved the idea of filming it.
Cool.
So they got him right away. And Better Luck Tomorrow is, quote, the film is about Asian American overachievers who become bored with their lives and enter a world of petty crime and material excess. Now, the interesting thing is Sung Kang, the actor who plays Han,
Yeah.
is in that movie.
Yes.
And he plays a character named Han in that movie.
Oh.
And there's
Same
people who
character?
kind of fill in the blanks that, that's like him before Tokyo Drift.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
This movie is kind of a weird crossroads between like a couple movie franchises. What's really fun.
What else you got?
Oh, just those two, like how it's Fast and Furious, and then also sort
Yeah,
of like
yeah.
this Han character being pulled in of a similar ilk. And you did know that in Better Luck Tomorrow, Han is a smoker, and because they didn't want to have him smoking in this movie because of its like, like it's kind of for kids, I guess, but not super.
Sure.
kind
So
of.
instead they
Yeah.
just like make him snack a bunch. So like
Oh.
it's
it's
sometimes
like he quit
yeah,
smoking?
debated that like he quit smoking between this and that, and that's why he's always like eating a snack.
Okay.
But also,
okay.
who
We
knows? Who
said that-
cares? Time doesn't matter in this franchise.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't. We said that he's the Brad Pitt of the movie because he has something to eat the whole time. And then we also said
definite
that
Ocean's vibes.
he's
with
got
him.
beautiful hair.
Yeah,
Beautiful hair.
Just gorgeous.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he did a good job too.
Yeah, he's
As
great.
As a man who's balding, I was seething with jealousy this whole movie.
It's okay, man.
Okay, so I got a couple more here. Lynn was originally not enthusiastic about the earlier drafts of the script. He said, I think it's offensive and dated, and I don't have any intention of doing it.
Wow.
So he made sure that it became, at least at the time, not offensive.
Yeah.
I don't know where we land on that now, but and I guess it's like really hard to get permits in Tokyo. So he says, I wanted to shoot in Shibuya, which is the most crowded place in Tokyo. The cops, they're also so polite, so it takes 10 minutes for them to come over and kick you out. But unknown to Lin, the studio had hired a fall guy who stepped in when the police came to arrest him and said he was the director and spent the night in jail instead.
What? They had a fall guy?
Yeah.
They did that?
Yeah.
That's wild.
I love it.
Amazing.
I mean, that makes me like the movie a little more.
Yeah.
That's crazy. They just hired a guy to be like, you want to spend a night in jail? You just do
Yeah.
this thing for us.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd do it.
That's crazy.
Well, maybe I wouldn't. That sounds scary. But it probably wouldn't be. He said they're
Also,
polite.
Yeah, like I think like a Tokyo jail is probably a lot different than an American jail.
Probably like a holding cell
Yeah.
for a night.
You know.
And then, so this is IMDb trivia, so take it with a grain of salt.
Okay.
But apparently the studio thought Paul Walker was too old, and that's why they didn't even approach him with this movie.
Well, that doesn't make sense.
I know, especially because this guy looks like he's 35, although I found out he was 23.
Yeah.
Wow.
He looks older than us, I think.
Yeah.
He just looks like he's gone through a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's like being a time traveler. It's wild to sit here. I love this.
And audience, Rachel turned away from her mic and was laughing that hard that she had to turn away and bend over out of frame for a second.
Yep, just to keep it all in because there's so much to tell you. So much.
Does that actor come back? Can you spoil that for
he
us?
has a credit in F9.
He does.
That's
Yeah.
what I saw, and I didn't want to look further into anything.
Yeah,
But-
not to get
Okay.
you can obviously look at cast lists and stuff, but like Han plays a much larger role in the Fast franchise. Again, like each of these three movies kind of pick up things
Okay.
along the way, like a little Katamari ball of what works in a Fast movie, and like Han is definitely one of those figures. You know, like half of my watch was just like, where are we in time with this? Because Han is here. I'm so confused.
Okay.
I hope that's not too spoilery, but like I do.
Okay.
No.
That's my best way to like proselytize. Like if you like Han, like please keep going because like
I do like him. He
they
was great.
they do a lot with Han. Like he is definitely not just
Yeah.
like Vin says he's like was part of the crew and like that's all you know. Like you really see like that.
I do like that.
bond, you know.
Yeah, because at the end
Okay.
when he was like, he said that Han was they go way back.
Yeah.
I just thought like I wonder what stories they could tell together.
Well, I mean, does the main character Sean? Does he?
He has a credit in F9 that
Oh.
I saw.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what that
Him
means.
too. Okay.
That's what I saw.
Yeah. And I won't tell you
Interesting.
anymore because I could tell you everything.
Yeah.
But like,
And- yeah,
don't
yeah.
like if you didn't like Sean, don't worry. If you did like Sean, don't worry.
Yeah.
Great.
That's kind of how I felt. I thought his performance was actually, I would say, good.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's good in this movie. I think he's better than Paul Walker in the last two movies.
I agree with
personally.
that. I agree with that.
I'm still hoping Paul Walker steps up to a point where I would apparently cry at the end of 7 because I don't feel like that's even on the table at all, except for just the sadness of a human being dying.
Well, of course. Yeah.
But this guy, I was like, okay, I get your deal.
To me, he showed up and did his job.
Yeah, that's
he
a
was
good
not
way
bad.
to describe it.
He was not great for me.
Yeah.
He used the power of friendship and apologizing.
Yes.
Okay, one more note, and then my part of this is done. So there were poor test screenings to this movie, and Vin Diesel said, okay, I'll do a cameo,
Okay.
but I'm only going to do a cameo if you don't pay me, but you give me the rights to the Riddick series.
Whoa.
And as we
So
know...
same studio?
Yeah, Universal. So as we know, Vin Diesel did not do Too Fast because, one, he didn't like the screenplay.
Mhm.
And then, two, he was like, no, I'm doing this other series. And so I think, and also knowing the fact that Vin Diesel loves D&D and plays D&D all the time.
He does?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I
He
didn't
has
know
a
that.
tattoo of the name of his like Dungeons and Dragons character.
Wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
He also based a movie off the last Witch Hunter. I think is based
That's
off
right.
of
That's based
Like
on
his character,
yeah,
right?
like I think
No way.
I think so.
That's so cool.
Hold on. Here.
But
you keep
while
you keep
you're-
doing this. I'm here to help, to be the guy at the desk.
Yeah, the guy in the chair. So he loves D&D. So thinking about how there's this weird like sci-fi fantasy series.
Yes.
And he has a little more, at least at this time, more passion for that than Fast and Furious.
Yes.
That totally tracks, and I think we got to put it on the docket for us to cover soon, because there are 3 of those movies.
And which we talked about in the last episode. We're up for it.
Yeah,
We wanna-
haven't
we
seen
wanna
any
watch
of them, but there's something very intriguing about them. So I think we got to cover it just to unlock the Vin Diesel of it all.
Yes.
So that's what I got for notes.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Yeah, it says
Yeah.
the main character in this movie was partly based on his old Dungeons and Dragons character, Melkor, who was a witch hunter. He used one of the third-party Dungeons and Dragons books to create the character class, as he loved being a ranger type, but he also used a few spells too. So he being Vin Diesel, who plays D&D. And
Wow.
literally, I think I feel I can say this. You'll notice that as this Fast franchise goes on.
Oh, wow.
I like what I'm saying. They become like OP and they level up. They're truly just doing a shit ton of just like dumb TTRPG bullshit. Just like what's the next
Okay.
what's the next adventure in our car-based campaign?
Wow.
Yeah.
That is good news for me.
Yeah.
That makes me like Vin Diesel a little bit more. Not that
Yeah,
I didn't
it's-
like him or
we've had-
anything. It's just he's kind of hard for me.
We've
Although
had
I
a
was
complicated
excited to see him in this
relationship
movie.
with him.
Yeah.
He's a complicated guy. Like to sort of
But
like
learning he's a D&D guy, it's
Yeah.
kind of like...
That
He's potentially someone that we could hang out with. How weird is that to say? Of muscular men, he's probably the most likely that we could hold a conversation
Yeah,
with.
just don't let him at you on like Instagram because that's rude.
Anyway, that's what I got. Take it
Okay.
away, Jordan. Tell
Just
us about those
go
actors.
a little bit over the actors. So Lucas Black plays Sean. So he's also in Sling Blade, 42, Friday Night Lights, NCIS, and Promised Land, among several other things.
And that is his accent.
That is.
Okay.
I was looking, he looks so much like Peyton and Eli Manning that I was trying to find out if he was a Manning.
And he has their specific accent.
And so he's not. From the brief looking up that I saw. Like in his trivia, there was no like cousin of or anything either.
No secret Mannings here.
No
he
secret
looks like
Manning.
Manning and Eminem had a baby. And it kind of freaked me out the whole movie.
It's weird. But I saw like in his trivia there was
Rachel's thinking it through right now.
Yep.
I saw that for one movie he didn't get this role or was I think he didn't get a role for a certain movie because he was unwilling to lose his accent.
Oh, okay.
And then I also saw he had no formal acting training.
Mhm.
And I was just like, okay, that kind of makes sense to me.
Okay.
And then Bow Wow, who is credited on IMDb as Shad Moss now.
So he went from Lil Bow Wow to Bow Wow to now
Shad Moss.
Shad Moss.
I guess.
Okay.
I believe it.
Yeah.
He is in Like Mike, of course.
Everybody knows that.
Scary Movie 5, Big Mama's House, and he's also right now in CSI Cyber.
There's
yeah.
a CSI Cyber?
Yeah, and he's a big player in it, I guess. He's on the poster.
I like the trend of rappers like going into criminal shows. Because you have like Ice-T is in
Law and Order.
Law and Order, and maybe those are the only two.
I
think
not
there's
super
another
familiar
one though
with it.
that is in another show like that.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
Can't remember for sure though. I don't
Um,
watch those shows. So
And then Natalie Kelly, who plays Neela, she is also in Vampire Diaries, Take Me Home Tonight, To Catch a Spy, and The Baker and the Beauty. And then Brian T, who is DK, is in Jurassic World, Wolverine, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Out of the Shadows. And then he is in Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, and Chicago PD.
okay.
He is Chicago.
He's big Chicago.
And then Han.
So he got
sung-
exiled too.
Hold on a second, because my phone autocorrected. And I want to get the name correct.
I think it's Sung Kang, right?
Yeah, I think so. So
Because mine
he's,
auto-corrected to King at one point, and I was
Okay.
like, no.
so he's also in Bullet to the Head, Lizzie's Story, Snakehead, Raya, and The Last Dragon, Power, Code 8. And he's in a lot of other things, of course, like
Many of
that
the
movie
Fast
you said as
movies.
well. Yes.
Any of the Fast movies. Okay, that's. I knew he was in 9, but I didn't know he was in many of them.
Yeah.
I don't.
Like a
I don't get
handful.
this. I don't get this, Rachel.
Oh,
But-
nor do I. But do I mind? Nah. I'm not worried. That's it. Just don't be worried about it.
Okay.
Don't be worried about
Okay.
this franchise.
I'll try.
Okay.
Try not
Yeah.
to worry.
All right.
It'll do you good. Just there
I
are a
guess
bunch
we
of
gotta trust
nerds
it.
who like the cars and just want to do dumb things with cars for fun.
Well, one of my favorite. So now we're getting into the movie.
Yes.
And one of my favorite aspects of the movie is how Sean's obsession with cars is treated like he's addicted to a substance or something like
He's
that.
addicted to NOS.
It's like when he sees his dad and he's like, "You been out racing and all this stuff." It's like these are conversations that they have with drug addicts usually.
But Micah, he comes from a broken home, and he moves all the time, and he's being exiled to Japan. He's going through a lot right now, and racing. He just gets to race away from it all.
Yeah, I guess so.
What is he running from? You know,
Mm.
and what is he running towards? Family, the family he finds.
Okay, looks like someone's been converted. So the movie begins, and we're introduced to a new character.
Mhm.
And I think if you were in the theaters, you'd be like, okay, who's this jabroni? What's going on here? We're in high school?
Yes.
Mhm.
What's going on here?
Mhm.
We get the classic dynamic of there's a bully from
Yeah.
Home Improvement, and then there's, the hot girl.
Uh-huh.
And then there's kind of like, hey, you have a stupid car. Actually, it's an American muscle car. This thing could rip past you any day of the week. Okay, let's race.
Mhm. For the girl.
For the girl who
You know.
very much is like, please race for me. It's my king.
Yes. Yes.
Well, it's
true.
funny when they're like picking the fight, and they're going, let's just race, see who's better. Let's take the cars, and the guy's going, my car's worth $80,000. Why would I do that? And then she goes, why don't you race for me? And then, of course, as we said last episode, it's just like reading Marvel Comics. If you call someone a coward, they're going to double down. Because being called a coward is the worst thing you can be called. Except in Marvel Comics, you might be called a panty waist, too. Or a milksop.
Ooh,
Wow.
Now you're
Them's
getting
fighting words.
madder than Joe Skay getting insulted about his pompadour.
So I know I blew past, a lot there, but I
There's
think
so much to unpack. Just in
I mean
that.
unpack.
Yeah.
Unpack. Let's go.
I don't know. I mean, the first thing I thought of when they started the race was, did they build this set? Because
It is
the
a cool
set
set.
seems insane.
Yeah, it's a really neat set to be like, let's go race around the cul-de-sac construction is really
Yeah.
cool. I love so much that this kind of like bully with the girl you like dynamic lives in both places. Like Sean has a problem with cars, but it's not his only problem. Like he just keeps hitting on the wrong girls. And I
Yeah.
love that. And I love so much that the instigator girlfriend, Cindy, is very much just like into the idea of watching her boyfriend beat the shit out of other dudes for her sake.
Yeah.
Like that's again, that's her kink. Like you kind of go like, "Oh, she's being treated like an object." Like, no, this is literally what she is into, to the point that she eggs him on to like get
Yeah, I
into a
thought you
car
loved
crash.
me.
I thought you loved me.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to prom with someone else. Just like that is a messy, messy baby who love of the drama. I love her. She sucks. I'm glad we never see her again, but boy, oh boy, what a stellar.
She'll probably
Like-
be in 10 or something like that.
Probably.
knows?
It's just, it was wild too. And I mean, it totally fits her character, where not only are they racing for her, she has to be part of the
Yes.
race.
Yeah.
Where she is getting whipped around, and at a point is like, this isn't fun anymore. I'm getting whiplash. And they get into a bad accident. That looked rough.
Yeah.
I do love how when they are racing, though, she just keeps shooting him daggers like, ugh, I can't believe you're not winning right now on this really slick dirt road as we're like almost going to die at every turn.
I know.
Ugh.
Teenagers with
And,
their
like-
impulse control.
I know.
I know these 40-year-old teenagers are crazy.
Not really.
I'm going to keep going up every time I mention their age.
These geriatric teens. I tell you.
But this race was like so far in the series, I thought the coolest looking race to date.
Mhm.
It felt like Justin Lin had a good knowledge of how to film this stuff, and like the cool shot where they're driving on the main road, and then Sean goes up this ramp, and they're seeing each other through the unbuilt houses. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it was great.
And then he jumps the car and stuff. Okay, I'm getting into this a little bit. And then it kind of comes to a screeching halt after that, pun intended.
Okay.
They get in a wreck.
Yeah.
But
All of
Sean
them.
wins, of course.
But since he's not a rich kid, he's gonna have to take the fall for all the damage he caused.
He's
And
he's the director stand-in in Shibuya.
He is. He really is.
Yeah, you're.
And they tell him he
Yeah.
is. You're taking the fall for this. You're paying the money. You're getting
Yeah.
in trouble. As the other kids' parents come, hug them,
I-
whisk
it's-
him away, and his mom comes and just immediately starts smoking.
And I love that the detective is very forthright. And he just says, like, they're too connected, and basically they have too many ties, and we can't do anything with them.
Yeah.
He's like, "This is how the world works."
Hello, it is
He's
us.
a very honest detective.
The police. We are corrupt, I guess. Surprise.
And
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
we're very forthright about
We're just
that.
gonna
So
tell
you need to
you
know that ahead of time.
Straight.
And his mom's making a lot of eyes at the detective. I thought there was going to be something more there.
I think it just shows that maybe this is kind of a pattern for her, because it
Yeah.
does cut to Sean and he's like, "Oh, brother, again? What's this gonna be?"
Right. And then he's exiled to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Meet his dad.
Mm-hmm. So here's something. So before I saw this movie, before you press play on this movie, I think I asked, like, so I know the movie takes place in Japan. Is this a Japanese movie? I asked. Like, is it like made in Japan, like Japan? And you said no. And I was like, okay, yeah, fine. And then the movie starts and I'm like, oh, this movie is a American going to Japan.
Oh, did
I
you?
thought it was like all set in Japan.
Oh.
And because I have no other basis for anything in this. I knew it was like, I knew it was not connected to the other movies. And it's anthology like.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And therefore I thought, like, this is just going to take place in Japan the whole time with like this new cast of characters in another country. Which, I mean,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
partly true, but I didn't know that like some dude had to be forced to go there.
Yeah. You didn't know that the main character was American,
I
Or a
didn't.
teen.
which is sort of funny.
Or a teen.
Yeah.
I did not know that either. Just probably expecting someone to be a cop at some point.
Yeah.
Because the last two have had.
Yeah, there's not really a
Police
cop subplot in this
No,
movie.
this
as
this
there
one's too
typically
busy
is.
dealing with the Yakuza,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, it's way too busy for that.
So he gets there, he's a fish out of water,
Mhm.
of course. And, he has to wear slippers in school. And that's a pretty big deal.
I will say the staggering difference between like Sean arriving to the school in Arizona being like metal detected and wanted and the imagery
Oh,
of
yeah.
like the children at school like hitting a piñata that's supposed to be their like school's mascot's like rival, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
a Native American person piñata, and I'm just like, this
Oh, yeah.
this whole place is fucked. And then you go to Japan,
Yeah.
and his biggest drama is like he doesn't understand he has to take his shoes off to come into class. I'm like, what a fucking difference, man.
That's true. There is some commentary there. I didn't
think about it.
I just got too
until
excited that
this
we were out of
time. Yeah.
America to see some other stuff. So
I just was imagining too, how stressful would it be? You get to a new country that you're living in and you wake up in the morning with a note that says train leaves for school at 7 a.m. And it's like, where's the train? I don't speak this language. How am I getting to
Yeah.
school? That is so stressful.
I mean, his dad's a pretty bad guy.
Well, he's been so absent for so long.
Yeah.
He forgot how to be a dad.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. But he meets Bow Wow, who sells stuff to people.
Yep.
And he sees that he's got a pretty cool steering
Yeah.
wheel.
This is less
Like-
than a day after Sean has arrived in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Being told,
No jet lag, no
stay
nothing.
away from cars. Just stay away from cars.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only. That's like. There's so much other things.
First day of
But-
school, steering wheel.
Lights out at 10, all that stuff. But then he gets introduced to the Hulk car,
Mm-hmm.
which is a crazy looking car.
Yeah,
it
it's
has
wild. It has
indented Hulk fists.
Mhm.
and feet. Yeah,
There's a Hulk on the hood. It's a Hulk car.
it's fun.
I kind of dig the Hulk car.
Yeah.
And you know what? At this time, Universal would have had rights to the Hulk, so that makes sense
Okay. Very cool.
if we want to get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
So
I think Bow Wow was having so much fun in this movie, and
He's good.
I love to see
Mhm.
him.
does he return?
Do you really want me to say?
Well, not with the way you just slowed down your words
Yeah.
like that. No,
Do-
because maybe
Because I could tell you. I've seen all of the movies. I could confirm or deny the presence of Bow Wow.
no.
going forward.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. You're right. You made the right
Yeah.
call. You made the right call. Thank you for keeping
you
us
know
honest.
what? I just want to make sure that like you get the fairest like shake at this franchise.
Yeah.
Also, while saying I love this film franchise very much. Cool.
Okay.
This is
okay.
very difficult. I feel so stressed.
You probably feel a little bit like a outsider, but I don't remember the word that they
gaijin.
used. A gaijin.
Gaijin, yeah.
But really, we're the gaijin because we don't know what this is
Yeah.
about.
Oh, we're saying things like, this is cool, this is weird, I don't know what about this. And Rachel's just like, they have no idea.
Yeah. Again, this movie, very grounded. In comparison to what's coming, really low key.
Okay.
Now, discovering that this movie takes place in the future,
Yes.
like 2013, right, is the year that this takes place.
Oh, how do you know that?
Well, I did see something when I was looking stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
And it's like, it's just funny that for some reason, Japan, a famously techie country, using those old phones in 2013.
yeah, so desperately behind.
Obviously, they did not
Yeah,
plan that,
you
of
can-
course. I
you
understand
can also
that.
tell,
but it's
like,
very
based
funny.
on the fashion, again,
Mhm.
this was obviously not meant to be part of a 10
Yeah,
plus
yeah.
movie franchise before it's over. So like you kind of gotta just be cool and fine when you're like, oh,
Yeah.
this was very much a movie set in 2006, but we also
Yeah.
need it to not be that later. So sorry. Who knows?
Okay. So Sean sees a girl, and his jaw drops to the floor, his eyes pop out of his skull, and he goes, "Whoa, ooga!"
Yep.
Yep.
And he's talking to the girl, and him and that one guy,
DK?
DK, they have like a standoff.
Yeah. And
Real close.
I mean, there's so much sexual tension between these men. I was just yelling like, kiss, just kiss. Let's just do it
Yeah.
now. It's
It's-
crazy.
I mean, so far that has become a staple, I think.
Yeah.
That it's like all the men kind of love each other.
Yeah, that's for
It's
sure.
Lord of the Rings
So-
with cars. The men love each other. The women are cool. Don't worry about it. But like, truly, this is
they end up with the guy,
yeah. But this is about
don't worry.
the establishment of like brotherhoods with like grown men.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Couldn't have been said better.
No.
No.
And that's why Rachel's here.
Yeah.
To barely
to
get
say
to
things
explain
better.
this franchise to you and just sit here and know what I know.
I love it.
Have to
What do
stand
you-
in both worlds.
Yeah.
So, one note I said, and please confirm or deny this. This is 100% what brought drifting into like the public consciousness, right? Like this was not as popular. This wasn't as well known until this movie came out. Because this then became like, you'd be walking in high school or something, and you'd hear someone be like, "Did you hear that on Saturday people were like drifting in the parking lot of the school?" And people are like, "Yeah, I actually know how to drift."
Yeah.
So that became. I mean, I don't know if you got that in your circles, but the circles I was in, I definitely
didn't,
heard
but
that.
I believe it.
Yeah, and everyone thinking that it's very cool because, I mean, it looks awesome in this movie.
I know it for me, since I hadn't seen this movie. Drifting came from Mario Kart. For me.
Oh, yeah. So you got it early.
I guess.
But then
Yeah.
it became like a cool macho thing to be into. I think that's.
Yes.
I remember that sort of like cultural zeitgeist toward drifting. I think a lot of like comedy satire was also like poking fun at this. Like.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So then Sean and DK have a race.
Yes. And he's
And-
DK for
Drift
Drift
King,
King.
yes. Also
Drift
known
King,
as
yes.
Takashi. It's cool.
Oh, okay. Totally missed
It's
that.
fine. I've watched this movie multiple times now.
So they have this race, and this is another. I will say this is a great scene. I like this scene a lot, where they're racing for the girl, and Sean gets in the car, and Bow Wow says, "Hey, you're gonna need to know how to drift."
Yeah.
And he's like, "What's drifting?
Yeah.
Can you give me a 30-second explanation of drifting?" And the guy's like, "Use the e-brake."
Pretty much. And then he's like, "You'll have to figure it out."
Yeah. And then
a real,
what
a
happens
real
now?
dad move, huh, Bow Wow? You're gonna have to figure it out.
It's your own thing now.
So they are like, "Okay, we're gonna race through this garage." And Sean, of course, doesn't know how to do it, and he's like slamming into walls.
Mhm.
And I mean, this stuff is shot really well. It
Yeah,
hurts.
yeah.
Like when he's slamming into stuff, it's like, oh.
He's slamming into other cars, and I'm just like the price tag just keeps going up throughout this race, and it's stressing me out.
It's nuts. And then the DK gets like to the top, and I love this spot. He drifts 180, and then he just sits there and waits.
For him to catch up.
And then once he catches up, he continues the race, drifts up a spiral driveway to the top. Freaking cool. Pulls in, just completely wrecks him. And it's like so many seconds behind.
Oh,
Sean
yes.
pulls up.
I love in this movie that it is so hard for our main character to figure it out the whole
Yeah.
movie. Like it's showing like this is hard. You don't just like do it once and then that's like, oh, that's how you do
Except
it.
you totally
Yeah.
do because Neela
Love it.
can do it from being a child.
That's true.
It is
It's in her.
It is equally parts incredibly difficult and also just like instinctive. I love it.
Yes.
I love that children
Yes,
can
that's
do
so
it,
true.
but Sean cannot.
No. He's
You're right. Hey, if you grow up in the culture, though, you just
We discovered it on the mountains.
I gotta say that scene. I know it was a big scene for her to explain herself. I was just so bored. It was just like such a screeching halt of. And sometimes for me, when I'm watching a movie, I need to pay a little bit more attention to those times because that's character
Yeah.
development. That's
But
important.
me and Brian did
But-
it, so we got to do it again. We got to do like the weird
Yeah.
driving date.
Yes, exactly.
Stable.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, that scene was.
I like the music. It's nice.
It's just been funny so far, like just hearing these characters, and I'm sure you're gonna be holding on to your seat again with what I'm gonna say because I'm sure this happens in the rest of the
Yeah.
movies. But it's just so funny, like they all have these defining events that have to do with cars, and it's just the silliest thing in the world. All the stories that they tell are like the funniest, stupidest thing.
Cars
And
are
I know
so
that this is
important.
just the
They're
beginning.
So important. These cars are so important. Every second, these cars and cross necklaces are so important.
And so I know that there's going to be a lot more of that. And I look forward to them leaning into it more and being a little more self-aware of it. Because I'm
Yeah.
assuming that they're going to get to a point where it's like, we know this is cheesy and
What's
funny.
your car story
Yeah.
with a new character?
Tell us your
Yeah.
car's story.
Yeah.
And it's also just funny watching these movies and knowing nothing about cars at all. And just being like, I guess this is important to people? I guess?
Yeah.
Where I'm the guy where when I hear someone peel out, I'm just like, "Argh,
Yeah.
get off of our street if you're going to drive fast. I'm like an old man. I want to like shake my cane and outside.
Yeah, here we are watching these movies.
Yep. I mean, this is the only acceptable screeching is when you're watching a movie, in my opinion. So here we are. And because Sean messed up this guy's car, Han's car, we didn't mention that.
Han lent a car so Sean could race
Yeah.
Takashi, Han's friend.
Yes. And so now Han is basically in debt to him.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Sean
is
has
debt to Han.
again very much the same like Fast 1 premise of you owe me a 10-second car, but this time we're doing with Sean.
Oh,
and
right,
Han.
yes.
Right.
Okay. This is crazy.
You have
And
no
so he's going to
idea?
help with. I know. I mean, I thought it was. I do still contend that I think they went full crazy in 2. When they pulled out those propulsion guns and started shooting them, the cops had these like propulsion electromagnetic pulse guns. I was like, okay, this series is already insane.
That's like a little window in what's to come.
That's another one of those like, ooh, Katamari ball, plucked it, got it, okay, going.
So anyway, Han is taking him on pickups.
Yes.
And like he goes into a spa and there's this very large man that he has to get a pickup from, and he says a word in Japanese that I think offends him because Han's kind of playing a prank on him / getting money from the guy that owes him, and he gets thrown outside, not before he gets a chance to put on all of his clothes, and then he throws him outside, and so now he's working for him. And then we learn this very crucial fact. This is a car story, kind of thing, where Han's like, I don't like to race. I would only race if it's something really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of his
Very pure
modus operandi, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
And then
all
we
there is
learn
to
about-
Han. Don't worry. That's it.
Well, he's dead, and so I'm assuming there's no way that he is in the franchise ever again, even though we've already confirmed that he is in multiple
Definitely
ways. So
just like
a car blew up.
Everything
he's done.
is as it seems in this movie, for sure.
It's all final.
Now, without giving any too much
Okay,
away,
I feel like I've already given too much away. But
is exploding cars with people in them the same as falling off of stuff in Star Wars is, where it means if someone falls off a cliff via whether it be Boba Fett, the Emperor, or I think there's Darth Maul, those characters always survive huge falls. Is exploding cars kind of the same deal in Fast and Furious? A car explodes, never assume the
I would
person's
say
dead.
just a general like movie assumption. If there is no body, then there is no death.
Well, yes,
you
of course. Yes.
Until you see them cold on the slab, assume nothing.
Very true. Okay.
So Sean's dad is working on a car.
A muscle car.
Yeah. And I like the muscle cars, man. And I'm glad Vin Diesel drives a muscle car because I think the cars in this movie look pretty cool, but the cars in Fast 2 I don't like those cars very much. The like Mitsubishi stuff, I just don't think it looks cool. That's a preference. But those types of cars, they're just not my thing. I like that. I like the
that.
muscle car.
You like American made?
I like American made. Although we own a Toyota and I love that car. But it's a van.
And we used to have American made, and it sucked.
That's true. Yeah, I will never buy an American car in my lifetime.
The best car
again.
is the car you build yourself.
Very true.
Yes.
Yes.
So dad's working on a car, so you see it runs in the family.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's when he says the Japanese saying of like the nail that's sticking out is the one that's gonna get hit or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Great.
And then, one thing that I couldn't quite wrap my head around is how so Sean is like 17 in this movie?
Because they say he's underage.
And we can assume that what's her name? Leela?
Neela.
Neela. She's got to be
Yeah.
underage, and she's just with these old guys. I mean,
Well,
they are
so is-
criminals.
so is he.
Yeah.
But
The thing
Yeah.
is like I don't know how
you can't think about that part in those
I don't know
movies.
how old Takashi aka DK is supposed to be, but it's pretty troubling when your first blush of introduction to DK is Han just being like, gonna keep dating high school girls? Like, what's your deal, man? Like,
Yeah.
grow up. I have two
They keep getting older, and I stay the same
absolutely
age.
terrifying. I hate it.
Opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, I keep getting
No,
older
they stay
and
the
they
same
stay
age.
the same age.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like they don't I would like to give the good faith read that maybe Takashi is like 19, maybe 20, you know, like
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
uh-huh.
yeah.
Not
yeah,
30.
definitely not of a similar age as like Han or, you know, the other
Uh-huh.
like adults in this sphere. But still, I hate it. It also
Yeah,
seems
yeah.
like she's a family friend, so yuck.
Yeah. Yeah, it's strange, and like at no point she seems ashamed of
Yeah,
him.
she seems to really hate
I mean,
being in
this-
a relationship with this guy.
Yes, because whenever she's with like Sean, it's like, you're cute. I'm all smiley around you, and then DK shows up and she's like looking at Sean like, save
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
from this relationship. That's what it feels
Which,
like.
I mean, it does seem like a predatory bad relationship.
I mean, yeah,
Especially
that's
when
true.
he
That later in
threatens
the
her
movie.
later
Yeah,
in the
that's a good
movie.
point.
Yeah, like he beats the shit out of anyone who like talks to her, and she is
Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely miserable about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nuts. But yeah, so she's underage, and
She is underage, and this
thi-
situation is not her kink. Unlike Cindy, whose whole situation
No.
absolutely was.
thank you. We also find out pretty soon here the real reason that Han drifts, and it's to drift around girls in cars and get their phone
Yes.
numbers.
Because it's cool.
That's
and
why
you,
he drifts.
And you will
Yeah.
never feel sad about that ever. Definitely,
I'm gonna
you're
feel sad
definitely
about
not gonna
that.
feel sad
Oh
about any of this movie in retrospect.
no. Oh no.
This, I cannot explain how wild rewatching this movie after knowing everything that
Uh-huh.
happens. I spent half of this movie just being like, "Oh, this hits different, doesn't it?"
Oh
Yes.
no.
That literally, I can't even begin to understand what you're even
Yep,
talking
but you will.
about.
But you will. Yeah.
I'm feeling a little bit of excitement and a little bit of dread at the same time in what's to come.
Yeah. I can't tell if once we stop recording, if you're going to be like, wow, I was really glad I was on that, or if you're going to be like, I wish I could have talked about the movie.
No, well, we can. I just in the overarching all of it. Like this
Yes,
movie
yeah.
is to the Fast and Furious franchise what like Thor 2 ends up being for like the MCU, where you're just like, a lot of important things were here and they didn't realize it, but like we've got some tools to play with going forward.
Good analogy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Oh,
like,
interesting. Yeah.
You can watch this movie and you're like, it's fine. It's cool. But then you watch it after having experienced everything that like is around it. You're just like, this is a different movie now, I guess. And I can't even explain why because it's too
That's
buck
interesting.
wild.
Okay.
Okay. So it's the Thor the Dark World, the movie nobody likes and nobody watches, but it's vitally important
it definitely
for some
has
reason.
like importance within
Well,
the
not for some reason.
franchise brought about where the film series is just like, we gotta fold this in, so let's figure it out.
I just
I
can't
know.
imagine. I can't
I
imagine.
feel bad that I'm telling you because I really want you to
Well,
discover
I think you're doing a
this.
great job.
You really are. You
Yeah.
really are. And it's just so funny because again, we have this very specific lens, and I think this is why I think that this series is going to be a fun listen for people because of this weird specific lens
Yeah.
we have. But it just knowing where it heads, like knowing that an off movie in a Marvel universe which deals with gods and people with superheroes, powers and stuff like that, I can wrap my head around that. But you telling me like normal people driving around, drifting cars, drifting to get phone numbers is going to be like an Infinity Stone style, like there was an Infinity Stone in that scene and you didn't know it. I don't understand how that's possible when we're dealing with, quote,
Yeah,
real
because,
people that
again,
live in a real
this
world.
movie
Okay.
on its own is an incredibly grounded movie in comparison to where we're going. This movie, tame. This movie, simple. This movie, in a bubble of its own making, of just like, this is about underground racing in Tokyo. Whereas the next ones are just like, this is so much world-ending stakes are coming.
Yeah.
Well, what you're doing, and I applaud you for this, but as this movie progressed, both of us were getting like kind of antsy and kind of like, maybe this is just really not for us, and we're just gonna go through this and not like this series and just be those annoying people who are like, sorry to ruin your enjoyment, but we don't like these.
Yeah.
But I even before recording, I'm like, how are we gonna get through this? We're talking about this movie I don't like. We're 0 for 3 for me so far, but then you are making me kind of like, okay, I'm excited to watch 4 now.
Like,
You're still giving us hope.
You're giving us hope, Rachel.
Again, like, this movie franchise serves as a transitional lens to look at where pop culture is going. Like, this franchise is very aware of the outside influences of cinema. So, like, when I'm saying like it is getting into like world-ending stakes, it's because it is in compatriotism with the MCU, and it is moving toward willingly stepping up to be like, we want to have stakes on that level, but we want to be a found family of car people. You know, like it's definitely going to noticeably represent the time in which it is being made, which I find especially funny because Tokyo Drift is doing that, but then like it can't anymore because it now needs to fit into the larger picture. The time dilation of this movie is amazing.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, man. Crazy.
I feel like
things about this movie will make you very sad. And other things about this movie will be like, what the and that was happening. The whole over off screen, and that was happening.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I'm gonna, because a peek behind the curtain, when we record at home, just the two of us, it's very easy to edit because I take notes as we go, like, oh, edit this spot, there's a lot of silence or whatever. But when we have guests, I always pull it in there and I listen through the entire episode and edit everything. So I'm gonna have listened to all of this again by the time this comes out. Then by the time the episodes release, I don't necessarily listen to them. I've heard myself talk. I know what I said. I'm not interested in hearing them again, except for maybe a year down the road because it's kind of fun. I have a feeling that once we have watched all of these movies, I'm probably going to be like, okay, I got to listen to 3 again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I get that.
Just to listen to you, because then I'll hear all the breadcrumbs you led for us.
You're going to hear what I'm talking about without talking about it. Suddenly you're going to be like, oh. Wow.
Oh, I'm so glad you chose this movie. This is so weird.
Yeah, this is like having to talk about like Endgame without talking about Endgame because the person you're talking to about it has only seen Infinity War, and you're just like, I can't. Like, there's so much context that they're gonna start bringing that's gonna change the landscape of this film for you. To the point that I'm like looking at like the Han car crash moment and being like, I know too much. I've seen too much. This doesn't mean the same thing anymore. Like, this is a very good example of like media stays the same, but your experience of it changes. Like, watching this movie now versus watching this movie is sort of like the funny entry point of like, I want to watch the weird car movies. You know, like, okay, that was a very weird car movie. And watching it now and being like, oh, shit. Okay. Oh, my God. Oh, and then.
New meaning.
Yeah. And, like, these absolutely wild stakes where you could just sit here and be like, they gotta go to space at some point, and just be like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Like, that is, like, you saying that is very well within a feasible option. And no one's going to giggle. Yeah.
Crazy.
So, again, this movie.
It actually, to extend your Marvel thought, from my perspective, it feels like we are talking about the first Avengers movie, and you're like, oh, but don't worry, Ant-Man's going to save the day in Endgame. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Ant-Man?
Yeah.
I don't even know what we're talking about here.
At
And
some
Endgame.
point,
That's how it feels to me.
Spoiler alerts for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. At some point, Captain America is just going to be over his own ass. He's just going to be like jaded about his own bullshit.
Yep.
Okay, so let's get back to this.
Imagine
So
that.
Sean starts training in the mountains with
Yes.
Han.
Yeah.
This sequence is good.
Yeah.
I love a
I
good
like it.
training sequence.
Mhm.
And you know, we're just seeing him fail at drifting and then slowly get better at drifting.
He eventually, at this point, he like leaves his dad. He's like living
He
with
goes
these
to
people
move
now.
into
Right.
the garage that's also like 2 clubs, 1 club for models
Yes.
only, you know.
Yes.
What a fan, because you're so
Yep.
busy like just trying to conceptualize what's going on screen that I just had to stop and go, wait, Han walked through a club, then another club to get to the garage where there's a front entrance to the garage. But we just decided to go the
Yes.
club to the hall to the club to the garage path
Big
just to show
flex.
it off, you know?
Yes.
Never forget,
Yeah.
every time
And
they're
then-
in a garage, just off screen, club full of models.
And the second club,
This is insane.
Bow Wow says something like, "Hang out with me," because models get tired of guys coming after them all the time, and they want
No.
the funny guy or something.
No, yeah,
Okay.
go
Yeah,
ahead.
I
You got
think
this.
that
You
got
got
it
this.
wrong.
The men of Japan are too shy to talk to these models
Yes.
in an interesting way. Follow me.
Yes.
I'm small. I'm a short king and a funny one at that. The babes will be eaten out of your hands, even though I think many of them are lesbians because there's a couple just like making
making out,
you
yeah.
know, and like are not bothered to stop in the presence of
Yeah.
Han. They're
Yeah.
just like, yeah, it's cool. We're fine. We're gonna go share our little sleeping pod that's in the garage.
Yes.
It's funny. It's a great trope in just movies when like Bow Wow is a good looking guy. And it's just funny when someone's like, yeah, I know that it doesn't make sense that models are around me, but I'm funny. That's why they're around me. And I'm like, no, you're pretty cool and you're a good looking guy.
Yeah.
It's not the humor that's
Also,
necessarily
you
bringing
have a
them to
lot
you.
of money from selling electronics and shoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like around this driving scene. There's a whole lot of reasons besides humor, and you haven't been very funny. So I don't know why that's what you've landed on.
It's
That's what the story
it's
called
the
for.
movie commenting on the inherent humor of Bow Wow being an actor after having been a rapper, Lil Bow Wow. It is less that
Yes.
Yeah.
Twinkie himself is funny. It's more we, the audience, think it is funny to see Bow Wow make a transition to an actor.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and we have neglected to mention that his name is Twinkie, but they call him
Yes.
Twink.
Yes.
They do?
They call him
just
Twink
missed
throughout
that.
the movie,
Oh.
which was just
Interesting.
an observation
Uh-huh.
and weird.
Also,
Yeah.
straightest twink I've ever seen.
Oh man,
So, yeah,
there's so many layers. There's so many layers
I'm
to
just
this.
thinking about Bow Wow and his contributions to this franchise.
Oh, she said contributions.
Mhm.
There was a plural S there.
Was there? I don't know.
Oh crap! I'll have to go
Yeah.
back and check.
Hey, hello from you, having watched this whole franchise. I know you're listening. You get it, right? Like, can you believe how many words I have not said and have said so much?
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna have to like write a list of words that I specifically didn't say to give you to be like, you didn't say that. Be like, I didn't say that.
Yeah, yeah.
Audience, I hope you're enjoying the mass confusion that Jordan and I are both experiencing right now. I was confused before we started
Yeah.
this podcast.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
More confused now.
Yeah.
Are you with
Yeah,
me on
'cause
that,
it's
Jordan?
movie 3 and I still don't get it.
Yeah. Now, so I have another question
Yes.
for you, Rachel. And you can be honest, okay? I
Mhm.
can take it. in all three of these movies, about halfway through, I'd like to think I'm a smart film watcher. I'd like to, but we all think we're smart at everything. So, about halfway through each movie, I get really lost on the plot and the dialogue.
Yes.
Is this normal for the first three movies?
I think this is normal
Okay.
for
Cool.
the franchise.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes me feel
They
better.
just-
Because I think in this club scene, I hit a brick wall where I was like, what are we even doing here? I'm confused.
We just, again, Sean finds underground racing in a day as a high school student in Japan. A foreigner just stumbles upon the cars. That's like, it's fine. We just got to get to the cars. It's cool. Like, we're going to put some big stakes around the cars, but we just want to get to the cars. Like, it's,
Okay.
we're going to save the world with cars. It's like the Flash and running fast. What's the answer? We get in our cars and we do the thing. We do the apology and then we race our cars. Vin Diesel and Dominic and Brian become friends racing the cars. It's the cars.
It's that simple.
the cars.
Okay.
Just it's fine. It's the
the
cars
cars.
and then just like fun shit they want to do with cars.
Okay. Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
This is very
Because
difficult.
I just I just got such a the club scene and kind of till the end of the movie. I just was like, it's like I had reached a mental load of understanding what words they were saying.
Yeah, I think me too.
I was just like, okay,
Han is hanging out with a young member of the Yakuza, and he's also stealing money because he can steal the money and get away with it without notice until the uncle comes in. But don't worry, the uncle is unreasonable and murders Han, but he's just gonna forgive Sean, who walks intrudes his dinner with his family to be like, I fucked up. Like, none of this makes sense. Dad letting son go away to go deal with the Yakuza is a choice that this movie wholeheartedly makes.
Yes. Yep.
Speaking of the Yakuza boss, it is played by the same actor who is, a kung fu legend, or I don't know if it's kung fu, but like the martial arts cinema, and he's Hattori Hanzo in the Kill Bill movies.
Yeah, that was fun to see
And
him.
when he walked in, I was just like, who is this guy? Those eyes are so distinct. Who is... and I had to look him up because I had forgotten. And it's Hattori Hanzo.
Very cool.
I love that guy. He's got such piercing eyes.
Yeah.
Just love him.
He's good.
He takes up the space.
Good.
I love that. Like, he
does.
just
He
really
fills
does.
the scene.
He's got a cute little white suit that he wears with a cute little white hat.
Yep.
Love it. I mean, I hope, and I'm guessing he's not, but I hope he's in a future movie. I'm just gonna say that. But I'm not. I'm trying not to look at Rachel so that I don't get. Well, she wouldn't have told me anyway.
He's doing a good job.
There are bigger fish that I'm keeping under
Driftwood-
my hat. So there's more things to think about.
I mean,
So he learns how to drift.
learns how to drift. Should we just get to the final race scene?
Sure.
We've kind of danced around. Is that okay?
Like,
What
Han's
more
dead.
is
We're
there?
sad. All the cars are gone. They got to build a new car to race because, like, this is how he's going to be free of the Yakuza by apologizing and doing a race good.
Then it's like race time. DK, Sean, down the mountain.
Cool scene.
Cool
It
scene.
was fun.
Kind of crazy. There's a few moments that are a little like. There was a moment you were like totally unplugged in this movie, Jordan. At this point,
Yeah.
And then there was a moment where you went, and I think it was when the tire was screeching over
it was.
Yeah,
the
and
edge
when
of
the
the
shot
mountain.
is
And then
straight
when-
down, where you're just like, if he falls off, he's
Yes,
dead.
yes, that got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when DK goes off the mountain, and then, Sean's still going and he goes around a turn and the car is still falling down the mountain.
Yeah.
Wild.
And then
That
he
was
and then
great.
he
I did
drifts
really like
around the
that.
car as it falls.
Yes.
Again,
Yes.
a little,
So good.
like, I'm unpluck that for the series going forward. just weird, cool things to do in a car.
Yes.
And then, like you said,
Well, like at the beginning of the movie, and here we're at the end, he wins the race and gets the girl.
yes.
So he does what he set out to do in the
Yes.
beginning of this movie.
And then we have that moment. I know we just blew past the biggest part of the movie, but we have the moment where we see Vin Diesel, and Jordan and I got so excited.
Because
and it
as
was crazy.
we're watching the big race scene, we were talking about how much we wanted Vin Diesel. And then we got him.
And I just never thought that I would go into a movie in my lifetime until this moment. I've never thought, oh man, I wish Vin Diesel was in this. I never thought that'd be a sentence I'd say.
Right.
And now I'm already like, well, Hobbs and Shaw can't be good because Vin Diesel's not in it.
Right.
That's already what my opinion is. And I haven't even seen the movie. So
it's definitely different, but I'm not going to say it's not good because you do have like The Rock and Jason
The Rock
Statham,
and Statham,
like,
yeah.
just like broing to the broest degree. It's really fun. It's different, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of hard to not have fun in this universe with those actors. Like we've established some like very weird fun things going forward.
Well, and one thing that I've neglected to mention in the other two movies that I think is pretty admirable and cool, at least from what I can tell from my perspective, in all three of these movies, is they do have an incredibly diverse cast.
Yeah.
And that's kind of exciting, especially like early 2000s. Like hiring a lot of diverse actors is pretty cool. I mean, we should be way further ahead.
Yeah.
Progress-wise in that regard, but it's like this series feels a lot more balanced than franchises like today, even.
And but
And
please
so,
never forget
I like
that this very fun cast of characters did start out stealing VCR players and TVs.
Yeah.
DVD players.
DVD players,
stealing,
yes.
That's why it was on
Yes.
DVD, because they were stealing DVD players. They started out
Yeah.
stealing DVD players. Just please carry that with you for the rest of this. Thank you.
Yes, we will. We will. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for the great reminder that we will never forget. It's
when
at
this
the end of the
shit
day.
goes Voltron,
it's about that
remember,
format.
It started as breaking up a ring of DVD thieves.
Oh man, I can't even. It's so. I am like, it's probably not a great trait in me. I just get so done so fast with things. And so in this movie, third one, it's just like, I don't get it. Sure, the cars are cool. The racing's cool. Everything else, I am so bored.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine, but I know because I've heard nothing but gets crazy, crazy, crazy cool. So like I know that, but I am so done.
The moment that this movie series, which is coming really soon, when it realizes that it just needs to hang out with Vin and the Carboys doing fun car-based adventures, that's when it's really like where it needs to be. Like it's still figuring out that the cars are fun. The rest we're working on it. You know, I feel like these three movies are handing you the items that you'll need in your basket for the journey through the woods. You know, like these. It takes definitely too long to get where it needs to go, but like you will be grateful for these like less than amazing movies to give you the context of how to get where you're going. Yeah.
I trust you.
Yes, we do
but,
trust
like,
you.
Again, this movie very grounded.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've said my piece on this movie, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do either of you have more you wanna discuss about this?
Absolutely don't.
I
What about
feel
you,
like
Rachel?
this movie is very hard to approach from the position of completionist of the series, because there's literally so many moments where I'm thinking about this in the context of the rest of the franchise and like what choices are made to fold this one back in. You know, the other ones have it a little bit easier because it's like, it's Vin, it's Brian, you know, like it's their friendship continued and growing and changing. Whereas this one, because Han is such a well-loved character and is now established as a member of the crew, like we're gonna have to do some work to get him slotted in as part of like the family. So yeah, this one's a real weird one for a lot of reasons. But I love it. I think it's so much fun. It's just a dumb anime, and I'm here for it.
It's definitely the best one so far, without a doubt.
I like the first one a lot more.
You think so? I think this is a better movie.
I think the racing is shot better. Like it feels like we're on the cusp of this is how cool it could look.
Yeah, that's how I feel about this.
But I just think the Vin, I really need him in this movie. Yeah. In these movies, at least from the 3 we've watched, because it's like, I'm hurting to see Dominic Toretto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I cannot believe these words that are coming out of my mouth. I've always been
this far into our podcast.
Well, if that's it,
yes,
Rachel.
Oh
what
my
you got
gosh,
to plug? Where can the people find you?
If you want to hear me like dig into things related to franchises, specifically those of the comic book adaptation variety, I have a weekly podcast called The Infinity Podcast. My co-host Scott and I we're into Peacemaker right now as of recording.
We started it last night. We watched the first episode.
What a fun, weird romp. So that drops every Monday on your pod catchers. And I also have an interview series podcast called Screen Snark, which the Macaws have guested on in previous versions, and that premieres every other Monday. I often have a double pod Monday, so come along. Follow me on my socials at I am Rachel Quirky, and you will see what weird franchise shit I'm into at the time. Right now, it is most definitely pro wrestling. So, yeah,
wow,
fell hard into it.
Cool.
And this franchise is pro wrestling with cars.
Yeah.
Well, they do have the physique for it.
They have
that's for sure.
signature moves and everything.
Love it.
Okay.
I trust you.
As far as we go, you can find us at patreon.com/MicahMacaw, and you can get music and videos. And I think on Patreon, we're either covering Speed, or if this comes out in March, I just can't remember. I don't have the calendar in front of me. We're covering the new Batman movie.
Okay.
Which I'm so apprehensive about that movie. But we'll talk about that on Patreon, and that's the only way you can hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
so,
what a temptation.
There we go. But yeah, thank you for listening,
thank you.
everyone.
Well, thank you for being.
Oh my gosh, thank you for including me in.
We had to.
I do want to come back and like talk to you about the whole franchise, like because I do want to hear if anything that I have said was discovered or understood or recontextualized, because there's so much I couldn't say today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll have to do a little mini so.
Sure.
Maybe we'll have to do that once we finish.
I'm definitely going to listen to the journey that you take from here on out, because it's gonna. So I will be there.
Okay.
But I do want to like just DM me about it. Like really, I'm really deeply emotionally connected to both of your journeys through this franchise.
I will, as we go along and discover things, I will send you a message on good old Twitter and say, okay, we've put this part of the puzzle together, or whatever.
Just enjoy the romp.
Thank you for coming on.
Camp, enjoy the soap of this whole dumb 4-wheeled saga.
Well, next episode, it's Fast and Furious. Straight up. No way. All right. See ya, everybody.
Bye.
It's like the only thing they talk about in these movies.